tonight.
America, we know what Donald Trump has in mind. More chaos.
Kamala has embarrassed us. She doesn't have what it takes. I'm asking you to dream big again.
The presidential hopefuls make their final pitches, the latest from the campaign trail. Plus, Battleground Michigan. We travel to the all-important swing state to hear from voters firsthand. And immigration in America.
It's like the U.S. government is completing the smuggling process. They're gaming the system.
Why some at the border challenge reported successes of the Biden administration. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris fighting for every swing state vote in an election that's still too close to call. Good evening from our Washington News Bureau. I'm John Jessup. Well, with just 6 days until the November 5th election, more than 53 million Americans have already cast their ballots. And tonight, both candidates continue campaigning in critical battleground states. CBN Washington correspondent Michelle London joins us now. London, what stops are on the candidates' itinerary?
Well, throughout the day, John, Vice President Harris and former President Trump both revisiting Wisconsin and North Carolina. Trump kicking off his speech in Rocky Mount earlier with a list of campaign promises.
6 days, can you imagine? I will end inflation. I will stop the massive invasion of criminals into our country. And I will bring back a thing called the American dream. Isn't that nice? Because we haven't had that.
And happening off the trail, Trump's campaign today says it's suing a Philadelphia suburb with hopes to extend in-person voting there by 1 day. Now, here in Washington, Harris addressed 75,000 supporters overnight as she promised to take the country in a new direction, ticking through her policy plans on the economy, immigration, and reproductive freedoms. Harris used this last major speech of her campaign to unleash a fiery message against her opponent.
America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
Meanwhile, 1 day after ballot boxes were found destroyed by fire in Washington and Oregon, workers are now searching the ballots for voter information and working to contact people about getting a new one. John?
London, separately, the top of the third branch of government also made some crucial election news today. Tell us more about that, London.
Yeah, John, the Supreme Court allowed Virginia to resume a program that state officials say is aimed at removing suspected non-citizens from its voter registrations rolls. This move sides with GOP members in one of its first significant decisions tied to next week's election. John.
All right, CBN's Michelle London. Thank you so much, Michelle. Well, Dr. Mark Caleb Smith is here now for more. He is the director of the Center for Political Studies at Cedarville University. Dr. Smith, welcome to you. So can you talk about the significance of this ruling? And secondly, were you at all surprised by the 6-3 breakdown?
You know, let me tackle the second part first. I mean, not all that surprised by the breakdown. We typically think of the court in a 6-3 block where the relatively conservative members vote as a block and so do the relatively liberal members. And that's the split that we see in today's decision. I'm not necessarily sure this is a significant decision in the sense that it's going to shape things. Virginia isn't considered to be one of those really close states. You know, if this were happening in Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, potentially up to 1,600 votes could be pretty important, maybe. In Virginia, I think that's probably unlikely. But it does at least suggest the Supreme Court may be willing to engage in a way that maybe people didn't think would happen even as little as a few days ago. And so the court didn't have to take this on. They decided to, and I think that at least says something.
Did the court give a reason why it decided to skirt the whole part of the act that says there's a 90-day limitation here?
No, and from what I understand, since this was done on a fast track, the court didn't really issue an opinion. It just upheld, or it reversed the lower court decisions that have been made before it. I think we can at least deduce that the court sees that 90-day window that's required by the National Voter Registration Act of 1993 a little differently here, because Governor Youngkin was issuing an executive order which really is just enforce the laws that exist in Virginia, and it doesn't necessarily create a new law, and it doesn't necessarily jeopardize people who weren't already in jeopardy from being disallowed from voting. And so I think it's difficult to argue that Virginia's law is really doing all that much that's brand new, and Youngkin's order didn't do much new substantively either.
Well, do you think this, though, could result in a suit contesting the election results in Virginia, even though you acknowledge that it's probably not that close of a race in Virginia?
You know, I think right now we should assume everything will be contested throughout the whole country for the next several weeks probably, so nothing would surprise me. However, I will say I don't think federal courts will really get involved in that question unless the election is within 1,600 votes or a really, really small number. And so I don't think that'll have much effect there. But again, you could see people using this as a precedent to maybe challenge other things in other states.
All right, Dr. Mark Caleb Smith with Cedarville University, thank you so much for your time and your analysis tonight.
Thank you.
Well, in the battleground state of Michigan, early voting is already smashing local records. Democrats and Republicans alike see it as a must-win state. And this year's race may boil down to a few hundred votes in certain counties, like the one I recently visited on the first day of early voting, as part of our ongoing team coverage to get a sense of how the race is shaping up.
If Michigan ever questioned its place in presidential politics, the 2024 campaign puts any doubt to rest.
Thank you very much. Hello, Michigan. I love to be in Michigan.
Thank you. It's good to be with you guys.
As the election winds down, candidates are making frequent stops here, with multiple visits to Saginaw County, about 100 miles northwest of Detroit.
Michigan's swing counties pretty much remained in the Trump column from 2016 to 2020. All but one. Saginaw was the lone county that flipped for Joe Biden, and both parties have been spending a lot of time and money trying to win it again in 2024.
I don't know about all of Michigan, but Trump will win Saginaw County like he did in 2016.
That bold prediction made by a former Obama supporter who now leads the GOP effort here. He's basing that on record donations, increased volunteers, and crossover voters traditionally aligned with Democrats.
Now here we are in the 2024 campaign. I got UAW for Trump T-shirts. People that work in those organizations are saying, I am tired of being silent.
And it's not just unions. Democrats face a mass defection from Michigan's large Arab population over the war in Gaza, a heightened concern after the Muslim mayor of a Detroit suburb recently endorsed Donald Trump.
How cool is that?
I know, it was really cool.
Eileen Pettinger, a retired firefighter turned party chair, tells CBN News Saginaw Democrats are also energized and believe any gap from the union or Arab voters will be filled by non-traditional supporters.
I have never seen Republicans and independents come into our office saying they can't vote for that man, that they want to donate, they want to volunteer, they want to door knock.
Political science professor Stuart French believes it'll be a tight race due to the issues residents here face, like declines in population and manufacturing.
So we usually are on the bad side of whatever statistic there is for the state. Anybody worth their weight is going to look at Saginaw County and go, this is an important county.
While pundits and pollsters predict the race here to be very close, both county party leaders told me they suspect their side might actually surprise everyone with a blowout, hoping picturesque Saginaw County will not only be a bellwether for the state, but for the nation as well.
We talked to voters on the first day of statewide early voting, which also includes a contested Senate race, which will factor into the chamber's balance of power. We found a range of viewpoints across the ideological spectrum about the candidates, the issues, down to voter integrity.
We usually do absentee, but I wanted to make sure it counted.
I want to make sure my voice is heard.
Trump just displays peace through strength.
And was there an overarching issue for you?
Women's rights.
As we were leaving the polling site, we captured a moment that defies the bitter division of this campaign cycle. Perfect strangers prioritizing the needs of others even before casting their ballot.
She was, limping and so in pain, and so, we're all Team Jesus.
I was out today campaigning, actually, and I fell and hurt myself, and When they offered, I'm like, yeah, I'll take prayer.
I mean, that's a moment.
That he's everywhere, and he's for us. He loves us, and he cares about our healing.
Even at an election polling site.
He never stops working.
A powerful example of turning faith into action and putting people before politics.
Well, as some Michigan voters are basing their decision on the war in Israel, today American negotiators in the Middle East are pushing ahead with efforts to reach a new ceasefire deal in both Lebanon and Gaza. They're floating multiple proposals, including a 4-week truce with Hamas for the release of 10 hostages, and in Lebanon, a 2-month ceasefire with Hezbollah. So far, no side has backed down from their demands, and today Hezbollah's new leader spoke publicly for the first time.
My plan is to continue our leader Syed Hassan Nasrallah's plan in all fields: political, jihadist, social, and cultural. We will continue to implement the war plan that Nasrallah set with the resistance leadership, and we will remain on the war path within the drawn political directions.
The Israel Defense Forces killed Hezbollah's former leader last month in an airstrike, that's Hassan Nasrallah, and has since taken out most of the terror group's top brass. In a veiled threat, or not so veiled threat, Israel says Hezbollah's new leader won't be in his position for long. Well, up next, with less than a week until Election Day, we take a look at the #1 issue, the economy. The latest on inflation and job growth right after this. And welcome back. The economy is looking strong and healthy, with inflation cooling, consumer spending, and employers adding 233,000 jobs in October, more than double expectations. Plus, according to a Commerce Department report, the economy grew at a healthy 2.8% annual rate from July to September. That's slightly below the estimated 3% increase, but well above the economy's trend in recent years. Well, Mark Hamrick joins us now. He's the Washington Bureau Chief and Senior Economic Analyst for Bankrate.com. Mark, welcome. It's always great to see you. So the economy had a solid quarter, but it was still slightly below some expectations. Mark, what's your outlook for the rest of the year?
Yeah, John, that if you want to call it a miss with respect to matching expectations is really more of an issue for Wall Street traders and maybe economists who make projections than anything else. A 2.8% expansion rate, as you indicated, is about 1% above the long-term trend, which is 1.8%. And this has really been the average over the last 2 years. So we can think back to a couple of years ago when it was widely feared the economy would be entering into a recession. That didn't happen. In terms of the outlook, I would say we have solid momentum, but we're also facing a lot of uncertainties, both on the global and domestic fronts. But what I would say is, with the unemployment rate as we speak at 4.1%, so far so good.
Well, inflation is still above the Fed's 2% target rate. Do you think, Mark, today's report will have any influence on the Fed's decision about how much to cut at its next key rate meeting? And when do you think that will be?
Yeah, this does not shake things up at all, I think, with respect to expectations for what the Fed is going to do. And they have a meeting that's about a week away with an announcement. And the announcement right now is expected to be that they will cut interest rates, their benchmark rate, by 1/4%. And similar, the expectation for the end of year meeting just before Christmas is we'll have another 1/4% rate cut. Remember, in September, as they got this rate cutting ball rolling, they cut by 1/2%. It's still a bit unclear as to why they felt the urgency to that. There were some concerns that maybe the economy was hitting a soft patch. That was in part because of some weaker jobs data. But now I think they want to go with a more measured approach. And that will mean if we get those next 2 rate cuts, they will have cut their benchmark rate, which is currently just below 5% in terms of the target. They will have cut that by a full 100 basis points, or 1%.
Well, Mark, we've heard it over and over again for the last 2+ years. Americans feel like inflation is killing them. So how long will it take for the lower rates to filter its way through the economy?
First of all, John, our bank rate surveys and others indicate that how you view the direction of the economy, how severe you regard the issue of inflation, is very much related to your party politics. Republicans are much more critical of that issue. They believe the the economy is going in the wrong direction. Democrats feel essentially the opposite. In terms of hitting the Federal Reserve's target, we think that could happen by the end of next year in terms of 2% inflation. But it's worth mentioning, and this is in the broadest measure of the U.S. economy, Americans' wages have been rising above the rate of inflation for 18 straight months, clawing back that lost buying power. That's very meaningful, and we need to have more of that.
That is good news there. Mark, we only have a little less than a minute left, but I want to ask you about the federal deficit that's, of course, been exploding, reaching $1.8 trillion in this last fiscal year. How can we get a handle on that?
You're going to have some fiscal responsibility possessed by our elected officials. And right now, in both parties, we're talking about tax cuts with really no sense of fiscal responsibility. So there needs to be sort of a come to fiscal responsibility moment in Washington, and voters need to inflict that on those elected officials. And so far, everybody's raising their hands and saying, hey, a tax cut sounds good to me. When you're sort of getting rid of federal revenues or the opportunity to claw in revenues, that's the opposite direction of where you need to be going. The nonpartisan views of both the Harris and Trump proposals mean doing damage to the tune of trillions of dollars further to the federal deficit.
All right, Mark Hamrick with bankrate.com. Thank you so much for your time and your analysis.
Thank you, John.
Have a good night. Well, coming up, southern border crossings are the lowest they've been in years. Why some say that's not the whole story. We explain right after this. Welcome back. Immigration is among the top issues for voters, especially in border states like Texas. While recent changes in migration patterns have led to a sharp drop in illegal crossings, Republicans argue Biden administration policies could encourage more arrivals. They point to new legal channels that make it safer and, in many cases, easier to get here. CBN's Tara Mergener reports from McAllen, Texas.
As the sun sets over the Rio Grande, the Texas-Mexico border appears peaceful. Once the major hotspot for illegal crossings, the situation has changed due to Texas spending billions toward aggressive border enforcement, from barbed wire and floating buoys to the National Guard.
If you cross in Texas, you will be prosecuted.
While illegal immigration is down overall in Texas, the numbers show many migrants are rerouting to other states, often with smugglers, due to Governor Greg Abbott's enhanced border security.
Border officials say that means more crossings in neighboring states like Arizona, New Mexico, and California.
Most of it is cartel. If you pay the cartel to get across, they're taking you up north because it's easier for them.
Biden administration executive orders aimed at streamlining asylum requests have also reduced the number of dangerous crossings and expedited deportations.
I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process.
In August, 58,000 migrants entered the U.S., down from a record 250,000 in December. That's a 68% drop compared to a year ago.
While the Biden administration touts a recent drop in illegal border crossings, critics argue they don't tell the whole story. They claim new legal pathways for migrants don't reduce overall migration, but instead encourage more arrivals and further complicate border security.
The traffic and people coming into the pipeline has not abated under the executive order. The Biden administration, for quite some time now, has been using the parole system to let people make an appointment on CBP One app and fly into the country, so effectively flying over the border.
The CBP One system helps process about 50,000 asylum seekers monthly, with more than 800,000 migrants paroled into the U.S. since its launch last year. Millions remain waiting for appointments.
This traveler feature is now live on CBP One.
Humanitarian parole programs also allow legal entry for tens of thousands each month from designated crisis countries, unlike regular parole, which is case-specific.
It's like
The U.S. government is completing the smuggling process. They're gaming the system and they're skewing the numbers, so it looks like immigration's down when it's actually not down at all.
We see what happens in New York. We saw what happened in Springfield, Ohio, Aurora, Colorado. That impact is being felt regardless of what the level of traffic at the border is.
We reached out to the White House about these concerns and are still awaiting a response. Meanwhile, agents also point out the flow of dangerous drugs into the U.S. has not stopped. So far this year, border authorities report seizing at least 10,000 pounds of fentanyl.
They still bring dope through the river. The drug crossings obviously have not slowed down, and we hear it every day, and we see it every day, and the talk about fentanyl, and it's very real.
And they say so is the potential terror threat to the United States, as individuals from more than 160 countries still show up to cross.
You just need one person, or in the event of 9/11, what was it, 9 people? You don't need many to cause us a lot of problems here in this country.
Problems those on the front lines insist will continue no matter which method migrants choose to get here. In McAllen, Texas, Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Great reporting. Thank you, Tara. Still ahead, a heartwarming end to a routine traffic stop. We explain next on Faith Nation. And finally tonight, a traffic stop turns stranger into a family hero. Michigan police officer Liz DeMink pulled a couple over after they made an illegal turn. When the officer approached the vehicle, she quickly realized the passenger was in active labor. A mom of 2 herself, DeMink told the father she would escort them to the hospital, and she did. They arrived in time for baby Henry to be born healthy and happy just hours later. You can see them there together. The officer and parents have remained in touch since Henry's birth, the couple calling DeMink their hero, and understandably so. Well, thanks so much for watching. That does it for this edition of Faith Nation. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.